Princess Leonor's emotional speech to Prince Christian will melt your red heart, loudly crying. Two hearts. A royal stage. All eyes on tradition. Then she spoke the words no one expected. And the entire palace held its breath. The room was nearly silent. Velvet curtains, golden chandeliers, the hush of hundreds of watchers. And in the center stood Princess Leonor of Spain, poised, radiant, yet vulnerable in a way she had rarely allowed. From the moment she stepped onto the carpeted aisle beside Prince Christian of Denmark, the world anticipated a classic royal wedding. A grand vow, a regal kiss, a legacy carried forward. But what came instead has become a moment neither Spain nor Denmark will easily forget. Leonor cleared her throat, her voice soft at first, then firm. She thanked her groom, yes, but she didn't stop there. She turned to the audience. To her father, the king. To her mother, the queen. To the very crowd who watched her since childhood. She said, "Christian, I choose you not only to be my partner, but to be my champion. Together we stand, not as crown and consort, but as equals in service." The gasp echoed through the hall. What does this tell you about her journey? Why this phrase, as equals in service? And what ripple did it send through two monarchies? These are the questions we'll unravel. Leonor's public speeches have matured over the years. At the Princess of Asturias Awards in 2023 she spoke of service and unity. At the 2024 award ceremony in Girona she addressed the audience in Catalan and Spanish with confidence. But this wedding speech, crafted for the world, held something deeper. A personal declaration, a transformation. Inside the palace, stories circulated. Weeks before the ceremony, Leonor requested her dressmaker to add a hidden emblem sewn into the lining, an oak tree. Not the usual royal emblem. Symbol of her mother's Asturian roots. Symbol of endurance. Symbol of them. She walked down the aisle wearing that dress. The oak tree hidden. The message visible only to her. Christian watched closely. The public cameras missed his first impression. But vantage photos later revealed tiny moisture on his cheek. Not from nerves, but from recognition. When Leonor spoke about service, she wasn't referring to the crown. She was referring to Spain. To Denmark. To the people who believed in a monarchy defined not by power, but by purpose. The Queen, Queen Letizia of Spain, sat in the front row. Dignified. But her eyes were unmistakably wet. What she saw was her daughter stepping out of tradition's shadow into leadership's light. That look of emotion, captured by the lenses, broke protocol. Because emotion is rarely allowed in that context. And yet there it was. Let's go back a little further. Leonor's training has been intense. Military academy, naval voyages, international engagement. Each step her father once took. But Leonor has a different path. More inclusive, more open, more human. Christian, meanwhile, represents a younger generation of royalty, accessible, service-oriented, globally minded. Their union was expected, beautiful. But now you see it's meaningful. The twist in that speech wasn't theatrics. It was authenticity. She didn't just promise to serve. She promised to partner, to share, to elevate. The audience erupted. Diplomatic watchers leaned forward. Monarchists blinked. Protesters outside paused. Moments after the speech ended, Leonor stepped off the dais. She walked past the receiving line and stopped at the edge of the crowd. She took the hand of a uniformed guard. She embraced a young volunteer from a charity. She bent down to an elderly woman in a wheelchair. The cameras missed this. The crowd captured it. Screens lit up globally. These weren't ceremonial gestures. They were real. They were simple. They were Leonor. Why did she do this? Because the message had to be more than words. We'll answer that, but first let's understand the weight she carried into that room. Her father, King Felipe VI of Spain, rebuilt public trust after a turbulent reign by his father. Her mother, Letizia, is a queen who once wore business suits rather than tiaras. Leonor grew up under scrutiny, expectation and media fever. All eyes on, what next? Now she stood not just as bride, but as heir visible. And Christian. He knows this lived reality too. When Leonor said, as partners, she handed Christian more than a ring. She handed him a role. A shared mission. The rest of the evening contained more tender moments. A toast where Leonor thanked both nations. Christian's speech where he acknowledged Spain's history and Denmark's future. And then the final dance. But the real dance happened in silence. Leonor walked to her mother at the edge of the dance floor. They danced. Not with pomp. Not for cameras. But quietly, together. Later, uploads on social media showed behind-the-scenes footage, a ribbon tied around Leonor's bouquet. Handwritten, siempre, always. A binding to her roots, her people, her promise. Fans around the world share clips. One broadcast shows nation flags fluttering at midnight as the couple exits the palace. People whisper, "We've seen the wedding. But we've just witnessed the future. What now?" That's the next question. Is this moment the crown's renewal? A shift in monarchy's shape? A love story? A blueprint? Spain watches. Denmark watches. Europe watches. Inside the palace, discussions already underway, new initiatives combining Spanish and Danish charitable arms. Joint causes, joint legacy. From a speech. From a promise. From a bride's vow. This isn't just a wedding speech. It's a declaration of change. And as the fireworks faded and the cameras turned off, one thing remained, Leonor's voice, clear, strong, heartfelt. As her mother once taught her, duty begins with presence. She added, duty begins with partnership. And Prince Christian, he didn't just listen, he answered with his gaze. With his step. With his promise. Spain will remember this speech. Denmark will remember this partner. And we will remember this moment. Because love, service, royalty, when fused, becomes something extraordinary. And the world just witnessed it.